Welcome to US Daily Beat, your trusted source for American news every single day. I'm your host, and today is July 23rd, 2026. We've got a jam-packed show covering the escalating Iran conflict, major congressional action, a controversial nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia, heated debates over immigration enforcement, the state of the U.S. economy, and some critical regional news. Let's dive right in. Our top story today: the United States military campaign against Iran has now entered its 12th consecutive night. American warplanes struck targets across southern Iran overnight, hitting sites in Bushehr, Avaz, Jask, and Damesk and Sirik. This sustained operation shows no signs of slowing down, and the human and financial costs continue to mount. Just yesterday, the Republican-led House of Representatives narrowly passed a massive $95 billion budget framework by a vote of 216 to 214. This emergency package allocates $73 billion specifically for war and intelligence operations tied to the Iran conflict. Another $12 billion goes to farm aid, and $10 billion is earmarked to incentivize states to adopt voter ID requirements under what's called the Save America Act. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth appeared before Congress this week, revealing that the conflict has already cost taxpayers nearly $40 billion. And with this new package, we're looking at over $100 billion committed to this military operation with no clear end in sight. President Trump escalated tensions further by issuing a stark warning to Iran. He threatened to target Iranian bridges and power plants, including critical infrastructure in Tehran, if Iran retaliates by attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi responded with equally firm language, stating that Iran's doctrine is eye for an eye. The rhetoric on both sides is heating up. And it's not just words. Iran has been striking back. Just last night, Iranian forces launched missile and drone attacks on U.S. military bases in Kuwait, Jordan, and Bahrain. Meanwhile, Iran-allied Houthi fighters attacked Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea, sending global oil markets into a frenzy. Oil prices have now surged to nearly $100 per barrel, the highest level in over a year. Americans are already feeling the pain at the pump, with gasoline prices climbing week after week. This conflict is dominating Washington, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are raising concerns about the strategy, the cost, and the long-term objectives. We'll be watching this closely as the situation continues to evolve. Moving on to another major story out of Washington, President Trump announced a massive multi-billion-dollar deal with Saudi Arabia to provide them with a civilian nuclear program. The agreement will involve American technology and expertise to help Saudi Arabia develop nuclear energy infrastructure. Now here's where it gets controversial. The deal reportedly allows Saudi Arabia to enrich its own uranium, a process that non-proliferation experts warn could eventually be used to develop nuclear weapons. Critics are sounding the alarm, saying this is a dangerous precedent. Congressman Brad Sherman called the agreement reckless, arguing that it lacks adequate safeguards to prevent weapons proliferation. President Trump defended the deal, saying it's contingent on Saudi Arabia normalizing relations with Israel through the Abraham Accords. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also backed the agreement, insisting that it includes necessary protections. But experts remain skeptical, and this is likely to be a flashpoint in Congress in the coming weeks. Next up, immigration enforcement. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE, is under intense scrutiny following a series of controversial incidents. In recent weeks, ICE agents fatally shot immigrants in Texas and Florida. The details are still emerging, but witness accounts paint a troubling picture. Yesterday, House Democrats on the Homeland Security Committee held a heated hearing, pressing ICE officials on their training protocols, use of force policies, and accountability measures. Shockingly, lawmakers revealed that only one ICE officer has faced disciplinary action for use of force incidents since the start of the current administration. Democrats are demanding body cameras for all ICE agents and stricter oversight of vehicle stops and enforcement operations. Republicans have largely defended ICE, arguing that agents are doing a difficult job under intense pressure. But the families of those killed and civil rights advocates are calling for systemic reform. This debate is far from over. In New York City, Mayor Zohran Mamdani made headlines by addressing the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The warrant accuses Netanyahu of war crimes related to actions in Gaza. Mayor Mamdani said he personally agrees that Netanyahu should be arrested, but he made clear that New York City does not have the legal authority to enforce an ICC warrant. He urged the federal government to take action instead. This statement has divided opinion in the city, with some praising Mamdani for his moral stance and others accusing him of overstepping his role as mayor. Either way, it's a story that's generating a lot of conversation. Now let's talk about the economy. Despite strong GDP growth earlier this year, Americans are increasingly pessimistic about the direction of the economy. A new poll from Ipsos and the Washington Post shows that nearly half of Americans expect economic conditions to worsen over the next 12 months. And 65% of respondents say the cost of groceries is simply unaffordable. Inflation remains stubbornly high, and the Federal Reserve is walking a tightrope. Market analysts expect the Fed to cut interest rates twice before the end of the year, each by 1/4 of a percentage point. But those rate cuts may not bring much relief if inflation doesn't come down. One major factor driving inflation is the administration's tariff policy. The effective tariff rate on imports has jumped to nearly 12%, the highest in decades. Just this week, President Trump imposed a 50% tariff on most Canadian goods. Economists at Goldman Sachs estimate that these tariffs have added roughly 1% to overall inflation. The administration argues that tariffs protect American jobs and industries, but consumers are paying the price, literally. Everything from groceries to electronics to cars is getting more expensive, and working families are feeling the squeeze. On top of that, federal debt is ballooning. Interest payments on the national debt are now consuming a larger and larger share of the federal budget, thanks to elevated interest rates. This is leaving less room for investments in infrastructure, education, and social programs. It's a fiscal challenge that's only going to get harder to manage in the years ahead. Switching gears to some regional news. In Madison, Wisconsin, protests erupted following the fatal police shooting of a black man. Details are still coming in, but the incident has reignited debates over police accountability and use of force. Community leaders are calling for an independent investigation and greater transparency from the police department. In the Northeast, health officials are warning of a measles outbreak in Delaware and Chester County, Pennsylvania. Several cases have been confirmed, and authorities are urging parents to make sure their children are vaccinated. Measles is highly contagious, and public health officials are working to contain the spread. And in New Jersey, severe weather wreaked havoc this week. The National Weather Service confirmed that 4 tornadoes touched down during a powerful storm system that swept through the state. Thankfully, there were no fatalities, but there was significant property damage. Additionally, a tragic boat crash in New Jersey claimed the lives of 2 children. Our thoughts are with the families affected by these heartbreaking incidents. Before we wrap up, a quick note on artificial intelligence. A new poll from Harvard-Harris shows that 67% of American voters believe the United States should slow down AI development until stronger safeguards are in place. Concerns center around job loss, energy consumption, and the potential misuse of AI technology. It's a fascinating debate as the country grapples with the promise and peril of this rapidly advancing technology. That's it for today's U.S. Daily Beat. We covered a lot of ground: the Iran war and its staggering costs, the controversial Saudi nuclear deal, scrutiny of ICE, economic anxieties, regional tragedies, and the AI debate. As always, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you tomorrow with more news from across America. This is U.S. Daily Beat. Take care.